Now let's get started. The last week I showed the two first Elementalists since I'm revealing them on the internet, and I didn't have time to show them all. Actually, I didn't want to show them all. I wanted to split in two parts, right? So we have the time to concentrate on them. This week I'm gonna show the two last Elementalists. So starting with Earth and finishing with Air. And once again, this is a kind of like stream where I welcome everyone to ask as many questions as you want, because that's the point of this right now, right? We're dissecting these models, and I'm going around showing you basically how I build them. Um, Little reminder that this is made for collectibles, right? So a lot of things that you'll see. Um, Same as what you saw with fire and water, is all based on what's actually possible to print afterwards, which is a limitation for sure. It's not a limitation that I give to myself when I do like smaller projects, but it's one that I give to myself when I work on this series. Sometimes it is a constraint for sure, and in design, especially a constraint in design, and but I'd say that for me the idea that this is going to be produced as a statue has like a really great value, and and yeah, it's important to me. So there we go. Hello to the rest of the people from the chat that just came in. Um, so yeah, I mean, without further ado, let's jump into it. And like I said, you have a question, just let me know. It'll be my pleasure to go around and answer them. How come it feels limited? What are the things that are off limits? Well, for example, I would have loved to have like the roots on his body, for example, like kind of like jut out of the shape to create like a negative space with silhouette. But like this cannot be done because you cannot really have negative space when you 3D print, or else there's a bunch of issues. So this is one thing, for example, but there's like a lot of them, right? The exercise of making something for print is like, I mean, it's pretty hardcore. I mean, I've worked in it for like a few years, so like I kind of like know the limitations and everything, or most of them, I would say. But then again, I always need to check with like the printing companies, make sure everything is fine. Usually I do this during the blocking, right? Not once the mesh is over, especially for characters like Fire that you saw last week. The way she's kind of like jumping and still holding on to the base. Let me get you some visual with this. It's kind of weird to talk about it without showing. So let's go on neo-apocalypse.com, your resource for everything Neo Apocalypse. And if you go into the divisions, let's go to divisions. A bunch of the next projects I'm going to be tackling. The Four Horsemen that came first, then the Archangels, and finally we have the Elementalists here. If we look at Fire, so um, so the way she's like positioned on the base, right? She's pretty much like there's no ground like below her, right? So we had to actually be conscientious of like be able to put like a metal peg inside of the leg that goes up to like the hip almost, so that like it stays up. That was an important part of the functionality of this mesh, right? So this is like an example of what I mean by um, like you have to be careful what you're doing, and the design has to work. Like you can't do like a character that's floating in the air, right? Um, so that's an example. Yeah. So This one, let's show the video for this one as well. So Earth, big guy, like he's really different from the rest of the series, right? The most of the characters from that series were women, um, and this one is uh, for some reason I don't know. It just felt like it's also like a bit contradictory because like there's like you say like Mother Earth, right? Is that's often the characterization for Earth that's used, and in this case, it's a more of like a male shaped character that's portraying the element of Earth, and he's the only man in that group. So, but at the same time, it's good. It counterbalances with the prominently male characters from the other series, right? Plus, for me, like there was something about the element, like the elements, like this kind of like nature-esque kind of stuff, and um, I like the idea of like taking characters that some of them they don't even look imposing, but you don't know how like powerful they are, right? Like the air character, she's kind of like sorry, she's kind of like not naive, but um like delicate. It seems like she's even like her body's like coming apart, right, with the wind. So you would think that like she's like just a little breeze and stuff, but like in the idea of what she can potentially do, like her control, it can be like cataclysmic, basically. It's all stuff that's actually that you can see in the character sheet that I made for the characters here, like her powers and everything. Um, like what's her skill, what's her like her stats or whatever, like or cataclysm attacks, tempest, the ability to summon pulverizing winds, hurricanes, and thunderstorms, that sort of stuff. So it can give you a bit of like an idea of like what I'm going for with these powers and everything. If there was ever a movie or something like that, right? um. So yeah, like three female character finishing the line with this massive Earth dude. But that's the thing. He's like even if he's like massive and imposing, there's still those little like birds that are hanging around because they know he's like a guardian of the natural realm, right? He's not a like an insane killer or like a monster, right? He's monsterish in his appearance for sure, but it's really like the idea of like the gentle giant. Um, Came not because of annotations, but of call of heart. Ooh. Um, you created these elementalists so fast. No, it took me a year to work on those on my spare time. It's just I'm revealing them one after the other. Still really love her skin unwrapping from her body. Yeah, that's cool. I like this idea too. I'm happy that I came upon it. Earth has a more fantasy feature and less sci-fi. Well, he's much more overtaken by the element than the rest. Basically, in the lore, is he's like the pretty much like the first one that decided to leave the Android nation and to kind of like become some like hermit in nature. So he has been within the element for like a long time. Plus, he's got this like capacity of like controlling nature, like the rocks, the trees, and everything. So like he basically transformed and shaped his body to almost be like completely armored. So everything that has to do with like his android body is pretty much like under the armor, except for some exposed parts and some of like the like scavenged armors also that he still wears on his body. Um, good morning, Mr. Pistol Pete. So yeah, let's go back to the model and let's check what can be said about this mesh. So the colors on this character right now are not exactly the ones that I used. I changed some of them. I made him like more like autumn uh themed. Like it's a lot of like brown, oranges, greens, that sort of stuff. Removed pretty much all of like the blue and stuff like that, which I is not the accent color that I wanted in the end. Even the bodysuit, sorry, the bodysuit, the actual like android body is was blue, turned it green in the final version. And yeah, this body is a body that I've been using for like pretty much all the androids for like some consistency in their anatomy. And some parts I actually had to create because they were never visible, like the abdomens and there's these kind of like things, right? Um, a lot of like the parts for like the head and everything, those were taken from taken from other androids, like the jaw and everything. It's pretty much things I've been reusing just to have some like echoes of the design coming through. Ça revole, magnifique. Merci, merci. So yeah, the in terms of like the layering for the body, it would have become kind of like pretty hardcore to go and actually have like every fiber of muscle in quotes because they're like roots, right? Um, be like their own individual mesh. So like in reality, um, okay, so ignore what is orange and green, but what is blue is really like a one mesh thing that's been simply sculpted like this with dam standard for the crevasses and some inflate afterwards. And of course, a lot of like sculpting to get the proper shape for everything, right? And the little vine were placed also under, also 3 levels also of well, I shouldn't say vine, maybe more like branches at this point. They were placed afterwards. Every spike was an alpha. Had to like had some details on top of it after for sure, but yeah. And for the rocks, it's mostly basically just like using H polish. You really get those like facetization, right? But also, I found it important to afterwards like go back with dam standard and kind of like insist on the corners to really like sharpen them because sometimes H polish is not going to make your edge like perfectly flat, right? It's kind of like going to like make it dip onto the next plane. So having them like that helped to actually like just get like more of like a sharp look to them. You, you sculpted all the wood texture, or you have created some alphas. Oh, it's an alpha. It's an alpha that I think I created like 2 alphas, or I got them. I found them somewhere, and there's also like some parts like that are like the in between of the those vines that are well branches I should say that are more like an amalgamation of smaller branch just to like kind of like show what's the like in between of those. The legs have like a pretty good layering actually. Let's take a look and let's remove some of the meshes like that we don't need. Um, So like I started by having just like the mechanical like leg existing under my my mesh, right? Then like adding those vines, just figuring out the proper like shape for them. You'll notice that like I'm still looking to get the anatomy of the leg in terms of like its shape and everything, but I do create like negative space, and then there's also like this like added layer which is more like the underneath roots, as well as of course those like roots that are going on top. The idea was to give them like kind of like a veiny look as well, so that everything kind of like. Oh, I think I lost the video. Eh? Okay, I'm not sure why I lost the video there for a second. Anyways, um, so yeah, in terms of like the vines, the roots, and that sort of stuff, this is all made by hand for sure, with like curved tube snap, of course, ever faithful curved tube snap, and ever loyal, I should say. And the texture of the roots, yeah, those were made with like here you can see it basically, like that's the unaltered one. Then you add like some like cracks on it and that sort of stuff. Makes the alpha blend better with like your mesh. Um, Speaking of that, how you have built up the roots that take over the body, because I can see you use the anatomical muscle group to echo those organic shapes. Yeah, exactly. Good observation. This is exactly what I just said about the legs. It's like for the body, like I knew I didn't want to actually like, for example, for the back, I knew I didn't want to expose the like the body under, except for like the spine that's coming up here with the scapulas and stuff. Scapulas, shoulder blades. Anyways, um, so this is like a lot of just like drawing like the directions and having like each individual like vine representing like a muscle. They're more apparent when you look at like the arm, where like the vines are pretty much going in the same direction as they're pretty much going in the same direction as like muscles, right? Except that some of them sometimes pop out just because I really wanted to have like a massive shape, right? So there's a little bit of fantasy in there, but you see like there's like kind of like a knot here in the vine, and that's all just to get like this shape of the calves. Sorry, by the way, like I said last time, I was sick during the holidays, and for some reason, like there's just like it just won't leave. I want to have a boss fight with this character. Greg Gorda as usual. Thanks. That's cool. Yeah, this guy would be a hard nut to crack, if I can say so. Also, the idea is that he's controlling the elements, right? So at any point, like he can, like if there is like something that would actually be a threat to nature, you can pretty much like command nature to like create like a cataclysm. And but this is like a last resort thing, right? This is to destroy like a threat that could be even more destructive to nature, like on the long term, right? So there's like really like cataclysmic powers that they can control, these guys, all the elementalists basically. So by themselves, they're really like powerful warriors, without even talking about like their like this like cataclysm power. But yeah, better to not fuck with them. Let's say. That looks cool. I once imagine a similar root wood that grabbed empty armor from inside out and use it as armor. That's cool. It's impressive how you blend art surface and organic sculpting so well, Marco. It's really amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love both of them. I like both of them, and I like to play around with them. Sometimes doing too much art surface is too much art surface for sure. It's a nice contrast. Yeah, thank you, thank you. So there's like those little birdies that are like so cute. So like really simple. Like it's this is kind of like one like really quickly done like feather because like they will never be focused on like from too closely, right? So don't need to put like too much detail on them as long as like feathers look like feathers, smaller feathers look like smaller feathers. Like for me, it was enough, right? It's not a study in detail necessarily, so you don't need to focus on it really, Although there's like one trick that I thought was cool for the feathers for these ones here was to I'll try to replicate it. So let's say the surface was smooth at first, right? And I don't remember what's the alpha that I used, but I think we can use like pretty much like any alpha if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully I can reproduce it correctly. Yeah, let's try to. Okay, so the idea is to take this and then take move and back face. Yeah, okay. So it doesn't really work with that alpha perfectly, but the idea is there is that like once you've placed the alpha like this, you just like take your move with back face and it kind of like drags everything in like one direction like this. You see? Like I find that's kind of cool. Right now they're not really orderly and like for feathers it needs to be a little bit more orderly. Although the feathers I have on this character are not that orderly for sure, but it can be like a little quick trick to do some cool stuff. Using backface with move I find it's something that I use very often actually. All right, what to say? What to say? I find myself not like finding much to say about the character because in the end a lot of it is like sculpting, right? Pretty traditional sculpting with some like reference and everything. Like if I look at this skull, it's like it's a skull. I took a reference and just replicated it. The for the armors, I used a lot of that one trick where I duplicate the armor twice for both layering, and one exists like under it or behind it. But once I make one of like the top layer disappear, it relieves the green layer below. So that's a cool trick. Like if I was to okay, why is it not masking? Fuck's happening? Wow, I can't. Is it this on all mesh? Like, I think I'm going crazy. I can't mask. No? Okay, all right. Not sure what happened there, but anyways. It's still acting strange. It's better like this. Okay, it's a bit better. Anyways, so you mask. And then when you push at some point, you reveal what's under. And this is one of the something I really like to use. It's heavy in terms of like because you need to have this mesh twice, right? But I don't know. I find it really, really, really convenient. Plus, you get to actually also play with the designs on the mesh that's under it, which is also pretty cool. So a lot of like these armor meshes were done exactly this way. Sometimes you can even have like the metal part like overlapping over the black one, so it adds on the layering. And of course, you can always like add some like rubber stuff, extra material on this. So far for me, this was like enough. But yeah, sometimes like for the body, for example, like here, I pretty much did the same thing. You got this mesh, right? And there's this mesh that's basically um, like clipping in, right? And sometimes to have like extra details and hints of stuff, I'll just add like manually like stuff over it. Like those little rings thing, like they're pretty easy to do, right? You like I'll delete my subdivision levels for a second. But you just grab like curved tube snap. So you can draw like your tube like this. Let's then you have it as an individual mesh. You can just subdivide it and you can apply any transformation you want. Like you take your move brush, focal to -100, and activate backface mask, and then you can like drag portions of it like this here. So just by adding like a little mesh and doing like a transformation on it, you can add a mesh that looks like it's functional with the design. Just a little trick, just a little trick. Take it or leave it. Here the vines are like, or the branches are different colors, but this is really just for the masking, the color masking during the bake. So I can like have some manipulation because those colors that you see right now, they're literally my color IDs. Like I'm trying to have the color help the design itself, like get to what my intentions, my final intentions. But they're also like different colors. Like if there's different like materials that should be black, like a plastic that's black or a metal that's black, they're not exactly like the same tint of black. And sometimes it happens that I get some like hard to mask things, but most of the time it's working pretty well. Take Andres. Thank you. Um Yeah, I ended up removing the Celtic design here just because like I ended up changing the lore of the character in at the like while I was like rendering the character actually. So I needed to create like a mesh to replace that and rebake because that was not canon anymore, let's say. Um, yeah, there's like this, there's the blade in the back. Just like it's really the simple thing, right? But I've used the same technique, like everything that's like the metal that's here. It's really like just like a mesh that's inside, and I play with like what's black, what's gray by pushing in and pushing out those things. And you add it to the character. Um, for the these parts here, like they are making two, they're divided in two parts, right? It's easier than having like one part that folds on itself. Sometimes it can be hard to go and like work on what's under the flap, right? So I kind of like I know that there's like a belt that goes around here, so anything that goes under the belt, you can just cut into two pieces. So this like tabard piece is like a piece of like synthetic cloth or whatever that was ripped and weathered with time, and it has like this like diamond shape texture on it, which is once again just created from UV Master. So you have like this piece that's here that you simply create like UVs on top. Then you create UVs with UV Master, and then you can apply whatever design you want to them. And it's all about like masking them or erasing them with Stormorph Target, actually, like I showed with Fire on the previous stream. And they're pretty much all made with that. Um, let's remove the axe for a second. All right, same thing as like stuff like this bag here. Um, like by itself, the bag is not like a super complex design, right? It's like really like a one shape mesh. But I did take the time to like I created like different polygroup. Oh, sorry. Yeah, exactly. I created different polygroup in order to kind of like split like the mesh in different sections like that. So like I just started from a whatever mesh. Let's start with like this cylinder, which I dynameshed. You can apply whatever transformation you want to it. Okay, and at any point you can like decide new polygroups for them for the parts for each parts. Oh yeah, the my shortcut doesn't work anymore since the update. I have to figure that out. It's like poly group by masking, I think. Group mass clear mask. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Okay. So you divide like by section, Let's go a little bit faster, like this. So now that we have separations in the poly groups, let's add another one here. Like this. You can always Z remesh and tell him to keep the groups. So keep group, Z remesh. And you see, it's like pretty good at figuring out what you want to do. Like the moment you have like a mesh that is somewhat constant, it's gonna like keep it constant for you. And once you have this mesh with different poly groups, it's like pretty easy to just like add some like the tubing, like I did on my model. You can also tell him to behave like in mask by feature. No, sorry, in I think it's mask by feature. No, wait. Oh, no, it's in the curve function, I think. Yeah, you can tell him to act by a polygroup. Or wait, maybe it's border actually. Like you're basically telling him like where to apply yourself. Yeah, I think it's polygroup. But if you wanted to actually like go around, yeah, 1, 2, 3. It creates like 2 extra that you have to delete, but now you have like this thing that is really following the poly groups of your mesh that's under it. So this is mainly how I did the bags. Once you have like those poly groups, the rest of the bag is mainly just like using the UVs and applying different materials to them, just to have like a certain like variety of fabric. Then the rest is like weathering, scratching some stuff. The zipper is an IMM. All those like straps are just curve strap snap, right? So same was done with the this bag here. Although in this one I also like had like some zipper that were open, trying to just add some life and withering to them, right? Pizza Core 3D, how are things? Pretty good. I hope things are good for you as well. Oh, you see on this one I kind of like added like some IMM I found and just used it by kind of like incorporating it to this shape here. I think this shape is no, I thought it was symmetrical, but this is how I did the roundness here. It's basically just because it's like it's a mesh that's coming from a Z remesh. Oh, although it's been I think re-Z remeshed after. I'm not sure actually. If I remember how I did the roundness here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like just like a simple mesh, and I just like didn't crease those edges, so it rounded them off. Marco, do you open the UVs on ZBrush or? Well, I mean, to do like the thing I just shown, like these like fabric that I do it with like UV Master in ZBrush. But for the final mesh, well, the final mesh for the like retopo, if you want, that which is just a decimation of my high res, so I can like shoot it in Arnold. I do the UVs with Rism UVs. All right. So yeah, and the rest of this character is a lot of the same. The straps, the same thing. It's like a fabric that I use. And yeah. So I don't know if like anybody has question for this character because I'm pretty much ready to go on to the last character. You say because the texture have no deformation, they look perfect. Sometimes ZBrush, UV Master have some weird results. Well, to avoid weird results, I suggest just dividing them by polygroup and asking ZBrush to unwrap by polygroup. So you're kind of like responsible to get like to make them like easy to pelt, let's say. And you just use your logic as if you were to unwrap the character traditionally, but you simply apply like a few polygroups to kind of like control how it unwraps. All right, well, since there's no oh, for making the branches, is it process like insert tube, then dynamesh, remesh, then adjust more, or did you make something different? Well, it's simply it's really just curved tube snap, and sometimes like I also like what I did is like once I've placed the branches to make them like connect with each other, I pretty much used the Boolean feature. So you see like there's like weird meshes here, but this is what happened when I Booleaned it. And but some of them, like the smaller one, I didn't even like Boolean them. They're just interpenetrating one with each other, and like with the distance, it doesn't really show. So, yep. So yeah, there's the blue. The blue layer is like the underneath one big mesh. Then the orange were the medium size branches, and the green are the smaller branches, all created with curved tube snap. Any other question? My pleasure, Starval. All right, I'll jump on to the next model. Let's Medanos. Amazing piece, love all the details you've added. Thank you. Alexayan. Hello, hello, hello. Oh yeah, the I had an initial mesh for Earth. I almost went with like this kind of like shape, although it was kind of like a bit of a problem in terms of like making it look homogeneous with like the rest of the characters and the scale for the print. And anyways, there was like a bunch of issues, so I've kind of like changed the design. Um, Okay, row 33, love your style. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, so the file's going to open. So we're going to be looking at this character now. Still opening. All right. All right. What's your thought process when coming up with new design for characters? Oh, that's an intense question. It's I mean, sometimes there's no thought process really. Sometimes I just go with the flow. For these characters, there was a lot of like research about the elements, what they mean, like in different cultures and everything, just so I get like some like keywords, some ideas, some like ideas how to separate them but make them like match with each other. Um, it's yeah, it's pretty vast. But like for characters like the Migawawa or the Migagato I did, or like my insectoids, they're more like about like just having fun and sculpting, right? And for some like that, there's more like thinking around, making little thumbnails, figuring things out, letting times to simmer, that sort of stuff. It can get pretty complex. Give me a hint on how to do blocking properly so that you don't get bogged down in details. I can't find a balance of quality, speed, and shape. Well, I mean, so my balance between quality and shape, um, like details and shape and stuff, I find that like something that's important is to really practice, um, like sculpting something as fast as you can with the knowledge that you have compared to giving your time to study and to retry and whatever. Like both are important to do, but you need to do them separately, in my opinion, in two different exercises, let's say. Um, in terms of the details, the one of the thing that I do to not get bogged down on details is really to just dynamesh my things to a lower level so that you can't place a detail. So it really like forces you to look at like the general shapes of things first. This is one of the tricks that I use. All right, so this one has two different heads. The more simple one, and you have like the one with the ring and everything, right? Which is a little bit more complex, so it offers two versions. Um, this one was also like a challenge in terms of like well, not a challenge, but what I really like is that like you can absolutely just like peg like the leg in like just a small place, and if like the mesh is like somewhat vertical, it doesn't really need like a lot of contact with the base to look like it's floating. So it's pretty cool. So I could actually have like this entire base have this motion of like being torn apart, and she just like needs to have like this like one little bit connecting here, and also so the hair is what makes everything like stick together. Like if you see like the hair is like touching like this part of her back here, and that's like where like there's going to be like key going in the waist here and holding like this like torso afterwards, like the torso is enters in contact here, right? And the spear like nothing's holding the spear, right? Except that it's going through the hair. So that's how it's going to be actually held together. And the arm, the floating arm here actually touches the hair right here. So this hair section can simply be printed with like a very light material, right? And the hand itself is going to be so small it's going to weigh nothing, right? So you just like peg it to the hair here, and like those like hair section, you just have them in like a different material, and there you have it. And like I said, like every design that I do, I kind of like pre-approve them by somebody that actually knows that stuff better than me. So that's why I have this like confidence uh, in like the composition and design of those characters to go forward with the polishing once I shown the blocking and my intentions, and I validate that they're technically doable. And I really love the dynamic pose and overall composition of this one. Really beautiful. Thank you. This one I tried a lot of poses for this one. There was a bunch of poses, and this one felt like it was the best one for my taste. Oh, how did you do the straps that are floating from her body? As in, how did you sculpted them? Well, first of all, there was like a certain logic of like how can I print them, because I cannot have too much, right? And you'll notice that some straps, they don't even like leave the body, they're just like wrapping around the body, and some of them are leaving like the body, are floating. Like this last here is really the only one that's not actually connected to the foot. So this is yeah, this is like one thing to consider. By the way, the foot is something that was provided by my friend Fred Daou. He was working on an Android at the same time as me, and I was I was opening my file to start modeling the feet, and I just saw he did like one foot, and he showed it to me, and I was like, "Hey, dude, I need like a mechanical foot. Do you want to just send it my way?" So he did. So I just like adjusted it to fit like the visual language of like my character, but it's essentially it is like all of the foot made from Fred. But yeah, the strap itself is like the most complex part is like the thighs here, but like for everything, the straps are actually just like starting from like a place that was cut from the body. Like you see like this metal thing actually cuts the arm in two, and what's under these are like the floating pieces. See? So, and what these are, they're just like curved strap snap once again, and they're like in a certain motion, right? For sure. Like I started by making one roughly, and then I used curved strap snap to place it over so it actually looks like that the width of the strap is all nice, and it looks already placed. So there was like a first strap that was there that was kind of like wonky and stuff, and then I placed one last one, and I repeated that for every strap that you see. And for the details, like those are just like I mean, I think it was done with Z remesh, like that cavity here, and this like extrusion here also, then UVs, so you can place this kind of like pattern on them, and store morph target where you don't want this pattern. Once again, it's the UV trick I explained is pretty much like what I've used for everything on this character. And about the thigh is that's like that was a bit tricky. Okay, first of all, look, like this is actually like they're kind of like going inside of the mesh like this, it doesn't really show because like I really made sure to kind of like H polish it correctly and move it so that you don't even like one goes into the other. It's like really flush, right? And I've merged them together and applied the same detail everywhere, so it looks like it's merged. Now, one thing though is during rendering, like this would be like okay for print, but one problem that I encountered was that when I printed that, the sorry, when I rendered that, it knew it was not the same mesh, right? So like the SSS, the subsurface scattering, did not work and was not consistent in that part. So I needed to create a mesh. It's in another file, but I needed to create a mesh that is that unifies like all of those together. At first, what I tried to do was a boolean, but the mesh is so heavy, it absolutely did not work. And what I ended up doing, that was kind of like a pain in the ass though, is to keep this as like the master mesh and do like a decimation of everything, then do a boolean so that like it doesn't crash, and then do like a Z remesh to be able to get like a mesh that I could yeah, like a mesh that I could reproject. And the reprojection, taking care of the reprojection was really hard because you see some of them are getting really close one to the other. So it was like really a pain in the ass, like an ultra pain in the ass. But it worked well actually. I think I still have like my baking files here. Maybe I still have it. Let's check it out. Yeah, okay, there you go. So you see this is like the one file. It's all unified. And oh wait. Wait, this is still no, this is still the wrong one. Wait, did I just open the wrong file? Torso mix strap, tibia, thigh, neck, spare skin, hand strap, hand, back, foot, neck, face, feet, neck. Right. I don't know. I think I just don't have the file anymore. Anyways, but that anyways doesn't change that that's what the idea was. I needed to merge them, and that's only for the rendering. For like the printing, that would have been fine like this. Do you have mentorship or any kind of training? If you go at the link under the screen right now, you can access like either my personal links or my personal websites and social media, or you can access the ones from Keos Masons. And on there, there's like tutorials and stuff like that. There's a lot of them, so you can always check it out. There's some good tutorials there. I do not offer mentorship though, just because I don't have the time anymore. Damn, this is some good stuff. Thank you, bro. These designs so good. Thank you. You try poses using a mannequin, or you use an early version of her without the final detail. I wonder when is the best time to start posing. Oh, the moment that you have your blocking finished. Maybe did I keep my poses? Hair funnel. No, I don't think I did. But yeah, no, it's just like the moment that I'm starting with like a T stance, right? And then at some point there's stuff that's not going to be like symmetrical, so I stop working on it. Or not even that, no, not even just at the point where like I do like my just my design. It starts in a T stance, right? And at some point when I got most of my design in place, I don't. I just take my blocking, I decimate it, and I start posing it and figure out the final composition of like what I want. Then I go back to a T stance block, and I'm polishing it until I get to a point where it's like, okay, well, there's no benefit to with like symmetry, so let's just pose the character and finish it in pose. And it really varies on the design of the character. Sometimes there's some characters that I stay with them like for a long time, like water is mostly symmetrical everywhere. So like I pretty much finished the entire character in T pose and then I placed it and then polished it, because when you pose a character, there's always going to be deformation stuff to rework. So of course. Um, let's go back on the those mechanical parts there. Do you usually do 2D draw concept first? Not really. I do sometimes I do little thumbnails and stuff. For these I kind of like drew a few things. I'm really not good at drawing. I mean I'm better than like at the average person, right? But uh I really mastered my craft in 3D more than in drawing. So like when I started to study in 3D, I was still like I'm decent at drawing, right? Like anybody that doesn't know how to draw thinks I draw well, but I don't draw well, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like for people, for us, like in the industry, it's not considered drawing well at all. But I I draw enough well to represent my ideas correctly, right? And then I can execute them in 3D. Uh, yeah, and it's really just lack of practice, lack of discipline, maybe. But because all that discipline and practice, I've put it in 3D. Hi Marco, love your style. How do you create the hair? It's so clean and dense. Is it all separated tubes or just single meshes with sculpt all over? Yeah, I'll show you. I'll show you that right now. Nice job. It's beautiful. Thank you. How many poly you have? I don't know. I don't know. Think 250 million. Um, yeah, okay, well, let's go back to the mechanical stuff like after. So the hair, this is a hair for sculpting, right? So there's, like I said at the beginning of my stream, there's like restrictions that I'm working with. Like I cannot have like a lot of like hair strands and little like hair in the wind. Like it needs to be like mostly blocks, which is like it interrupts me in my design for sure, right? And it's not like the best circumstance to make natural hair. In my renders, I kind of like add fibers to the hair so it looks a little bit better, but this is not what's printed, right? This is like really just like air that I added in fibers so that it gets more like of a better effect for the render. But for the sculpt, so this is really like the sculpt without the fibers. Like I use a mix of things, but it's a bit like the roots that I showed earlier during this stream right here. So I start with like having like a mesh, and there's like a few of those like meshes, right, that exist. And I often do like where like they twist on themselves, and then like I'll add like those little like meshes over. But sometimes like these hair, wow, these hair are mostly like straight, right? Whereas like sometimes when hair are a little bit messy, I'll add much more like meshes going in like different directions than the general direction of the movement. Just but like these needed to stay somewhat like orderly and straight. So yeah, but yeah, it does. It's mostly like a one mesh that I just like manually sculpt the the direction of the hair myself in a one single mesh like this. Like normally I start with just like the clay brush I smooth it out and I just add like orb crack or dam standard, whatever you prefer, right, to make the cavities. And it's a lot just more like observation and doing some like a good like frequency. Like you don't want to have like lines everywhere. Sometimes you just leave some like a bit more like spaced. Like from too close, it's not like really good, like looking good, but like from afar, that's where like the effect actually works. Because once again, this is going to be printed in 1/4 scale, so 1/4 scale, a quarter scale. So as long as it looks good when it's printed in that scale, that's the point, right? And that's also the reason why I spend a bit of time doing more fiber hair for the final render, because this hair would not look good in the renders, whereas this hair looks a little bit better, although it's not like really fully produced hair like you would see for like VFX or whatnot. And yeah, the arms, well, anything that's like the anatomy under is exactly the same mesh as before, same rib cage I've been reusing, placing stuff in between. Yeah. For her though, she has like like hair that like arms that can be separated between the joints. Like this is why I added those modules and stuff. Especially when you look at the hand like this here. And this piece was like a mess to do, because like it would have been so complex to place like all the straps all together. There's straps for like the fingers. Like this is an actual strap, like rolling all over. But for the hand part here, this was actually just like all sculpting. That was pretty hardcore. If you look at it from too close, you can start to see like that it's a sculpted piece. But as long as I had the effect that I wanted, I was good with that. So it's not as equal, it's not as like clean, but does a trick. For this part, it's actually like the trick I said earlier about the thighs here now, where it's like one strap that actually like connects in another. Then I Z remesh everything for the skin right there. There was like a mesh under that existed, but I kind of like I booleaned both of them, Z remeshed and reprojected, so that it's like one mesh that exists that has everything. And for this one, there's like a lot of like detailing around where like the spine actually starts and finishes and all that stuff. Just give me a sec. Bunch of meshes together. I think the spine actually exists. Oh no, I just kept the like the spine at some point existed like all throughout the body. Oops. Because like I did place the body before it had the hole, right? Because my idea is like it's not perfectly like the top is actually a little bit offset to the bottom, but like the naked character was fully placed in that pose before I actually like chopped it off, no? Just for the test of the pose. Like I actually took just like I think in the T pose, I actually split the character apart, but I did pose like a fully like unified character to test like the posing. Then I placed the character, or I think I just removed part of it to simulate the gap, just to make sure everything works well. I don't know that there's like much to say about the base. I mean, one thing that was like really hard to do with this character is like her element is wind, but it's like how do you portray wind, especially knowing that you're gonna 3D print that stuff. And like I mean, I've seen some people like using like a kind of like a different material to simulate like wind, but it's just not looking good in my opinion. Like I mean, water is like doable. Sometimes I've seen people doing fire, and I thought it was like pretty good. Um, but like me, it's like that's why there's no fire on my fiery character. It's actually lava. It's a bit more like consistent as a material, kind of like easier to replicate when you 3D print. For water, there's like some pretty good like transparent resin that give a really nice effect. But like wind, it's like how do you do wind, right? So what I did instead is like the consequences of wind. I did try a few ones where like um there was like big like flag like huge cloth that were like in the wind and showing the wind movement. But first of all, it was making just like too much cloth and it was not really looking good and it was starting to make the base extremely complex. So instead I went with this thing here and that's the thing that felt the best from all my tests. So but it was a hard one. It was complex to figure that out. Super Johnnet, amazing work, Marco. Thank you. Great sculpture, Marco. From George Burko. Thank you, thank you. I sit quite a lot in figure statues, and I don't think the wind smoke looks great either. Yeah. Well, in anime, sometimes because it's like made with like vinyl material and everything is kind of like stylized in a certain way, I think it passes maybe. But like since like my treatment is a bit more like realistic, let's say, I find that there's no really way of doing smoke correctly. Um, except if you like, it comes with like a mini smoke machine with dry ice. Press on the button and then it makes the snow in your room. That would be a cool idea, actually. All right. Well, I just crashed my ZBrush, it seems. Did I? We'll see. Nope, I crashed my ZBrush. Well, anyway, I mean, I was pretty much at the end of that stream. Yeah, boy, yeah, boy, yeah, boy. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? Yeah, camera's failing as well. I think the ZBrush crash made my camera like fail also for some reason. That's weird. Yeah. So anyways, so all in all, we had I started with the Fire Elementalist. That was the first one that I did of the gang. This is if I look at the reaction on the internet, this is not people's favorite, but for me it is. I just really love that one. I like the idea. I like the pose. I like the power of like the lava and everything. For me, it's like I'm really proud of this one. I'm super happy. Water, I really like her also for sure, but I like all of them. This was like the second one that I shown. Um, yeah, really happy with that result as well. Then air. So this completes the triangle of female character for the series, and finishing with Earth. And this completes the entire Elementalist series. These characters are added on top of the horsemen, like Death, or the archangels, like Mikhail. And all of them are part of this Neo-Apocalypse universe that I've been working on for a little while now. So if you wish to know like anything about these characters and their design and everything, yeah, just visit neo-apocalypse.com, or just click at the bottom of the screen. Like, you'll have the shortcuts to all my social medias and whatnot, and then they're there. Let's check the chat. How long did it take you to complete one of these art? Well, I mean, there was like a portion that was like research, but I don't know how long it lasted. It was just like here and there I do research and whatever. But when I started to put pen to tablet, if I can say, started with like the blockings and that sort of stuff, I'd say probably each of them is something like 3 weeks or a month. They're pretty complex, maybe more like 3 weeks. But once again, I don't get to work on them like 8 hours per day, right? Like, it was just like on my free time, so it lasted like a year, if not more, to do all 4 of them. Plus everything else I was working on the side, like the characters I was working on for the stream, taking care of the company, yada yada yada. So yeah, they take time. But yeah, that's it. That's going to be it for the Elementalists. Pretty happy to see that people came in numbers as well for this one. That was great. Thanks for coming. Thanks for asking your questions. And yeah, next week I guess I'll be starting on a new project for the stream. And I got like a bunch of like new things also. I did, well, a bunch, not that much, but like there's some stuff I'm gonna show on my social media soon. Like, I've been working on the side. There's one I'm really looking forward to show people. It's a little cute little thing I've been working on now, but we'll see. Give me a sec. I've been talking about like painting so much. Let's go and rate a painting artist on Twitch. All right. So as I said, once again, thanks for coming. That was really nice. I'll see you next week for everybody that will be there next week, probably around the same time. So I hope everybody's gonna have a good week. Until then, all right. Take care, everyone.